Welcome back to Bison Overtime. I'm Malik Mitchell.
And I'm Dash Mentzel.
Okay, so we have some sports updates coming for you today. Starting off with football as usual. This past Saturday, they played against Illinois State and won 20-0. It was the second shutout of the season, yet my prediction was wrong again. I really thought it was going to be a blowout.
I mean, in a sense, I guess it was a blowout because the defense wouldn't allow it to be a close game at all with not giving up any points at all.
Yeah, so it was a pretty slow game. So the NDSU's first quarter, Christian Watson caught a 4-yard touchdown from Quincy Patterson with 4 minutes and 55 seconds left in the first quarter.
That first scoring drive was perfect. I mean, a few passes down the field. They had that big one on the play-action play to Sproles down the middle. They got like about 40 yards, and then they had another pass to Roger Nelson that got him into the red zone. So, a good drive with a couple of different types of passes, and that's something we really needed to see more of, as the season has progressed. More passing drives, and that was a good example of how it works right there.
Yeah, and then what was disappointing is we didn't get another score until the last seconds of the second quarter. It wasn't even a touchdown; it was a field goal by Jake Reinholtz, but it was a good note because he kicked his career-long 46 yards field goal.
Yeah, and Reinholtz is having a great start to the season. 6 of 7 on his field goals so far to start the year, so that is very good to see. And the Bison, the second half wasn't great either to start. The third quarter, they didn't get anything, and they wouldn't score again until the fourth quarter with Reinholtz getting another field goal with only 5 minutes left. And then Tamarick Williams scored a 7-yard rushing touchdown in the last 2 minutes after an interception to pretty much seal the game.
So like you said it wasn't a shutout, but it was enough because the defense didn't allow the score. But I was thinking like I think last week we said like 41 to like 7 or 0. We only got 20. And by this low-caliber team, it raises some flags. I know in the press conference it was mentioned that the fans are even mad about the play calling, and specifically the lack of the passing game is what you're mentioning. But I feel like this game they used many other pieces, as what we also mentioned in the previous episode. They used Phoenix Sproles, Braylon Henderson, and even Zach Matthews, who's coming off an injury. He got one down the middle. So I think this game he used different kind of pieces, but I think the fans are more so mad about previous games how they're not really using the passing game as they could.
It just seemed that after that first drive, once again, it seems like every game, whenever the Bison get a 2-possession lead or more, they just kind of go away from that passing game. They just stick to running the ball and trying to run the clock down, and which may work against most teams, but there are some teams that and this game was a good example. If our defense hadn't gotten those interceptions in the fourth quarter and gotten those stops, we could have lost this game. All our defense would have had to do is give up 2 touchdowns after, we went 3 and out a few times, and we would have lost that game.
Right, and that's when I always have to go back to this when Coach Matt N saying that we have to capitalize on those red zone plays, like getting that touchdown. We can drive all the way, but we just can't get it in. And that's going to be a big problem when we play those big games like University of South Dakota and whatnot. So, and also the last 2 games, the run game hasn't been electric to me as it usually been in the beginning games of the season, right?
No, and I got a sinking feeling that maybe teams are starting to read on those running plays. And we ran the ball so much in the non-conference games and towards the beginning of the season that maybe teams are starting to zone in on what we do on run plays, and they're starting to figure it out. And the fact that we don't pass the ball very much, they just zone in on the run because they don't think they have to worry about the pass, and that's why I think adding more play action passes into the playbook would really help us.
Yeah, and I can see that. We can also see, like what you said, the teams are really gaining on us. You can see that because it seems like we're trying to use other running backs more. Because usually we used to just pound Dom Ganella, and then so often Kobe Johnson would get in the mix, or Jalen Bussey. Now we're seeing more of Kobe Johnson in the mix to try to switch things up. So I also believe that. So on offense, we had a total of 124 passing yards. On the ground, we had a total of 207 rushing yards. So what were some individual stats on the offense?
So Quincy Patterson was 13 of 22 for passing with a touchdown and 2 interceptions, both coming in the red zone, unfortunately. And that was a big blow to our offense. Getting those drives downfield, but 2 interceptions in the red zone is never going to help.
Yep.
The top rushers, Quincy Patterson, for I believe the 3rd game in a row now, the top rusher again, 18 carries for 100 yards, which is his new career best. Kobe Johnson had 11 carries for 41 yards, and then Dom Ganella had 9 for 28. And then also for receiving yards, Phoenix Sproles was actually the top receiver this week, 3 receptions for 46 yards. Zach Mathis had the second most with 1 reception for 26, and that was right before halftime. And then Roger Nelson had 2 receptions for 23 yards.
So going back to Phoenix Sproles, this is his first game leading. Do you think he's like, in my opinion, he's not having the best season. He's not getting that much targets as it is. What do you think he's going through? Do you think he's frustrated, or he's just thinking about the team first before his stats?
Well, I'm sure he's thinking about the team first, but also the playbook hasn't really designed many plays to go to him directly. I mean, honestly, that big pass play on the second drive, that was really the first pass play. I think that was designed to go to him first. A lot of the pass plays are designed to either go to
Christian.
Watson, Watson or Gindorf, usually most of the time. So, I mean, most of the time the pass plays haven't been designed to go to the other guys. So, I think that's a big reason why he hasn't gotten a lot of stats this year. I mean, he's still got that electric power. I mean, we saw that, but we just haven't used them that much this year.
And also going back to you saying Quincy Patterson had led the rushing yards, and isn't that like a red flag? Like, shouldn't we have our running backs getting like the top numbers in rushing yards? We have the guys. We have Dominic Anella and we have Kobe Johnson. Jalen Bussey is getting less and less each week, in my opinion. Do you think that that raises a red flag with the rushing, or?
It can raise a red flag. It depends. I mean, a lot of those running plays for Quincy Patterson are either, quarterback draws just off the tackle or read options. And we've been running a lot more of those these last few weeks, which we've obviously seen. And that's a big reason why, he's gotten the most rushing yards out of any of us or any of the players. So, yeah, I mean, it could raise a red flag if teams start to zone in on the read options. But, I mean, it's been working decently these last few weeks. But, yeah, I do agree with you. I would like to see more of our running backs getting rushes again.
And that's why I have to agree with you. Yeah, those QB rushes do work. They got a lot of our touchdowns, especially in the UNI game. 2 of our touchdowns was QB runs in.
They work half the time, but then there's other times where, we run them in situations where it's like we only need to get a yard and we run those plays and they just blow it up in the backfield because sometimes teams read that pretty easily.
Yeah, so switch it up on the defensive side. They limited the Redbirds to 99 total offensive yards and just 2 out of 11 third down conversions. That was pretty good on the defense.
Oh, boy, I'd say. I mean, Jackson Hankey led the defense with 7 tackles. Michael Tutsi and Eli Mostert had 6 each. Eli Mostert, also, he had 3.5 sacks. What a day for Eli Mostert to get back there in the backfield. Javier Darrett had another sack, and then Lashaka Rokes had half a sack, his first career half a sack.
Yeah, that's why Lashaka Rokes is really getting in the mix with the defensive ends there. He's getting way more reps, and it seems like the team is really gravitating him because, I know in the press conference, Matt, and a couple press conferences ago, he said we need guys like Lashaka Rokes to step up, and in my opinion, he is stepping up in these games.
We have plenty of depth at that position. We also have guys like Reed Ryan as well, Bartholomew Ogbu. Guys who can definitely play starting snaps at that position. So, I mean, we have no worries at that position in regards to defense at all.
Yeah, Jasir Cox, he had himself a game. 2 interceptions in first 2 career interceptions, period, right?
Yeah. What a performance by him, and once again, overall by this defense, it was amazing to watch. They suffocated them in the run. Their quarterback, Illinois State's quarterback, was 4 of 18 for 40 yards with 2 interceptions. I mean, tell me, a lot of defenses that can hold quarterbacks to those kind of stats. Not a lot of them in this country can do that.
Yeah, so the defense, in my opinion, did better than the offense in this game. I like to see more of the defense. I'm not saying I'm surprised because we know the defense have been dominating all season. So some outside stats, North Dakota ranks 5th in the FCS with a conference best of 3.6 sacks per game. It's not surprising, we see guys getting more sacks. The Mostert twins are probably the kings of this. I actually have some stats with them. Eli Mostert leads NDSU with 5 sacks, including his career with Illinois State of 3.5 sacks.
Oh, yeah, and the defense has also limited 7 FCS opponents to less than 100 yards of total offense since 2004. So 7 times, there's teams that couldn't even get a drive from one end zone to the other in an entire game. And that says a lot about what this team does every single year, bringing in great defensive players, defensive coaches who do a great job at developing these guys. It says a lot for the team.
Yeah, and then Quincy Patterson finally was named Missouri Valley Football Conference Newcomer of the Week. You think that's past due? Because it's not like this game, it's like his best game, or if you can say, but do you think it's well overdue?
I mean, a little bit. The thing is that a lot of these times, the offense has been helped by the run game a lot of the time. So, I mean, Quincy hasn't had a lot of time to prove his stats in this game, in games like this. But with him getting more rushes now, it's definitely going to be bound to happen pretty soon that he's going to get an award like that. Also, the defense, I want to go back to the defense real quick because they also lead the FCS in scoring defense and total defense, only allowing 7.2 points and 226 yards per game, and in red zone defense as well.
And speaking of Quincy Patterson rushing, he led the Bison in 4 out of the 6 games in rushing. And that's where I'll go back to the red flag. But we'll not talk about that. And then right tackle Cordell Volson got his second Missouri Valley Conference Offensive Lineman of the Week this season. That's his second one. So yeah, our guys are getting the awards that they deserve.
Oh man, I mean the defense as well. And going back to the defense again, they are giving up the lowest averages for points and yards allowed in NDSU's 18 seasons as a Division I program. And you got to think in this dynasty era, we've got to have had some great defenses up to this point. And apparently, so far, this one is the best out of all of them. Only Georgia is allowing fewer points per game this year in Division I, while Georgia and Wisconsin are the only two teams ahead of the Bison in total defense in terms of yards per game.
Yeah, so our guys are doing pretty good. So we are now 6-0. Their next game is tomorrow at 2:30 against Missouri State at the Fargo Dome. So Missouri State is 4-2, right? So last season we beat them 25-0, but it seems like they're a new team this year. One thing that surprised me about them, they almost beat Oklahoma State University.
Yeah, and they also beat South Dakota University as well, who's a 15th ranked team in the FCS right now. But the thing that confuses me is their loss was. Or their one FCS loss was against Youngstown State of all teams. So, and they gave up 41 points to them. So it's a really confusing team to follow right now.
Yeah. So it's one of those things like it can go. You don't know how well they're going to perform. It's one of those things.
Yeah, it is really. I mean, and you look at a lot of their games. They gave up 34 points to Central Arkansas. They gave up, like I said, 41 to Youngstown State. But last week, they played against Indiana State, who is not very good this year, but they only gave up 7 against them, and they blew them out of the water 37-7. So, I feel like maybe they're coming off of a better game than the Youngstown one, so maybe they'll come in with a little bit of fire this weekend against us.
Yeah, so this is the 14th meeting between NDSU and Missouri State. NDSU has won 10 straight against them. The Bears are 1-5 in the Fargo Dome. So, yeah, I think the Fargo Dome is actually the cheat code for the Bison. I think we do way better in the Fargo Dome than we do in other places.
Oh, it's always been a cheat code for us. I mean, we've literally every year the Fargo Dome is one of the toughest places to play in the FCS. The noise, the atmosphere, everything is against you as a visiting team, and it makes it so impossible to win there.
Yeah, NDSU has only allowed 2 touchdowns from them. So, my prediction is 24-14 us. And I say that because I know we're talking, behind the scenes of the show, that we can't get those scores. Like, we are inconsistent of our scoring, right? One game will blow them out, and in games like we thought in Illinois State was supposed to be a blowout, it really wasn't. It's full of potential. So I'm thinking 24-14 is because we can't just get those scores like we used to in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and the offensive consistency is the one question going into this game that everybody's going to want answered. I do believe that our offense is going to have a better game this game than last week because Missouri State has been, I'm not sure what it is, if it's the team they're facing, but they've given up a lot of points this year to a lot of teams. So I'm going to predict 31-3. I'm going to predict our defense is going to give up less than 10 points because, our defense is on a hot streak right now.
Yep.
So I predict 31-3. The Bison will win.
All right, sounds good. We got to definitely tune into that game. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have a special guest from the women's soccer team. Stay tuned.
There are so many great things to experience at NDSU. It's hard to pick one, but my favorite is
the people. They make it such a warm place.
The Bison aren't just across the country, they're across the globe.
It's the perfect distance from home. The faculty are our biggest cheerleaders. Hands-on research experience. The affordable tuition.
All the opportunities to stay active on campus.
Real-world learning experiences.
Once I got on campus, it felt like home.
The NDSU bookstore has everything you need to show off your Bison pride. The bookstore can have you sporting green and gold wherever you go. It offers many different brands, sizes, styles, and selection so that you find exactly what you're looking for. Shop the NDSU bookstore and show your spirit today.
No kid deserves to go hungry, but try as they might, not every family can afford to put food on the table every day. That's why the Great Plains Food Bank and their partner agencies work every day to bring food to our hungry neighbors. Every dollar donated can provide 4 meals for those in need. Go to greatplainsfoodbank.org and donate today so no kid in North Dakota ever has to go hungry.
There are so many great things to experience at NDSU. It's hard to pick one, but my favorite is
The people, they make it such a warm place.
The Bison aren't just across the country, they're across the globe.
It's the perfect distance from home. The faculty are our biggest cheerleaders. Hands-on research experience. The affordable tuition.
All the opportunities to stay active on campus.
Real-world learning experiences.
Once I got on campus, it felt like home.
Welcome back. Now we're here with midfielder Jess Hanley on the soccer team. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Okay, so let's go back to early in the season, right? You guys were ranked 5th on the preseason coaches poll. You know, Denver was number 1, SDSU was number 2, Omaha was 3rd, and then USD took the 4th spot. Do you guys think your ranking was appropriate for Barron last season and compared to the other teams that was ranked above you guys?
I think based on how we finished up last season, it was definitely an accurate ranking. I think Omaha, SDSU, Denver, they all showed for sure that they belong up there. SDSU clinched that spot by beating us at the end of the year. I think that's exactly where we should be based on how we finished out the year.
So this year probably hasn't been what the team has wanted it to be so far. 2-7-1 record up to this point. How is this season compared to last season as in terms of that?
Well, this season we started off with a different formation than we did last season, and I think that caused some problems at the beginning of the season just with chemistry and how we were playing together, our connectivity among each other. But I think we have a lot more grit this year. We have a lot more desire, hunger. We just need to keep developing our chemistry between each other, and that's where we'll get wins.
Okay, so in the starting of the season, you guys kind of had a shaky season. You guys played 7 games and only managed to score 2 goals out of those games. And not only were your shots were low, but the shots on goal were lower. So, you know, what were some issues you guys were battling with in the beginning of the season to have that difficult start?
I think our possession in the first place, like our ability to even keep the ball, especially with the other formation, wasn't as good as we wanted it to be. And I think when we did get in the attacking half of the field, we started trying to just go straight to, too direct instead of connecting and building up the field. So, and then as well, we just got frantic in the attack, in the box. We weren't prepared. We weren't composed on the ball.
It's been a struggling season so far this year, and it can be hard to get motivated after a tough loss. What do you guys do to get yourselves prepared after a loss like that?
We definitely talk about immediately, what went wrong, what we can fix, and then really we're looking forward to preparing to the next game right away. You can't dwell on the loss for too long. We're talking about how can we break down this next team, how can we get ready for what they're going to bring. We kind of got to look to the next game.
So the game against Oral Roberts, it seemed like things were just clicking. You guys were high spirits. You guys were having fun. You guys ended up winning 3-2 that game. What happened in that week of practice, or even in that game, to make you guys ball out like that?
Honestly, I think that week leading up in practice was really good. I think after that being our opening weekend for conference play, that was our reset. That was we were ready to go get a win, and I think so. Having good practices leading up to that, really being goal hungry, I think that helped. Our mentality when we all stepped on the field was we're about to go get a win, and I think that was something that we need to continue bringing into these following games.
There was no doubt that Oral Roberts game was one of the great moments of your season, and every team has positives to a season. What's been the most positive thing for you guys this season?
I would say from facing a lot of adversity this season, seeing how we can keep coming back after some of these tough losses honestly has been the most positive thing. It has been a really difficult season to deal with these losses, deal with getting scored on a lot, and I think it's bringing us together as a team having to overcome that.
So this previous weekend, you guys had a tough weekend. You guys lost to SDSU 3-0 and USD 5-0. But against USD, you guys had a good amount of shots. What was difficult about those 2 games?
SDSU, they're a really technical team. I think, honestly, in both games, once we let up that first goal, I think there was a mentality drop, and that's something as a team we've been struggling with as a whole. Once we go down a goal, how do we come back from that? But SDSU, they were a really technical and quick team. I think we played decent throughout the game, but as time went on, they just we were tired because we were on defense for so long. USD, on the other hand, honestly, at halftime, we were down 1-0, but I felt like we were still really in the game. I felt like we were battling, and when second half started, it just seemed like we weren't prepared. I think the other team just wanted it more, and that's where the difference was.
So, keeping that in mind, your next game is today at the Dakota Field. You guys, against Omaha, by the way, they are 6-6-2. So last season, you guys beat them twice. And this season, you know, they played kind of the same teams you guys have played this year with the same outcome. How do you think this game will go?
Honestly, I think that from us beating them twice last year, I think they're going to come with a lot of fire right away, looking to get this win, of course. And also, both of us really need this win, so I think both teams are going to come out really hard. And I think it's really about who has more heart in this game. Like, both teams are going to battle physically. Both teams are going to be technical. We have big players. They have big players. I think it's going to be a really even matchup. It's just whoever brings more heart.
There's also a home game coming up on Sunday against Denver, and the Pioneers are currently on a 5-game winning streak. So what do you guys do to stop that fire?
Really, I think taking on the details from the scout, we know some of their players that are really dangerous in the attack, so picking out those details. And then what we need to do specifically against Denver is keep the ball. If we're on defense the whole time, Denver's a team that's going to capitalize on mistakes and figure out how to score a goal. So the more we can keep the ball, the better chance we have of them not scoring.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. Be sure to support the girls at the Dakota Field today at 6 p.m. When we come back, we'll get into volleyball and cross country. Stay tuned.
Founded in 1985, the Missouri Valley Football Conference has established a tradition of FCS football excellence. Competing at the highest level of NCAA Division I, student athletes at its 10 institutions demonstrate character, passion, and integrity as they grow as a student, an athlete, and a citizen. The Missouri Valley Football Conference, where leaders are shaped and champions are forged.
No kid deserves to go hungry, but try as they might, not every family can afford to put food on the table every day. That's why the Great Plains Food Bank and their partner agencies work every day to bring food to our hungry neighbors. Every dollar donated can provide 4 meals for those in need. Go to greatplainsfoodbank.org and donate today, so no kid in North Dakota ever has to go hungry.
Welcome back. Now we're going to end the show with volleyball and cross country. So starting off with volleyball, this previous Saturday they played UND, the rival, and they swept them 3-0. It's always a good feeling to beat UND.
Well, it's what we predicted too. We predicted it was going to be a pretty easy victory, and you know, green and gold night. The fans were rocking the stadium that night, so it was just a good night overall for the team.
And I finally got my prediction. I told you I was going to get one. I really wanted it for football, but at least I got one for one of the sports.
Hey, baby steps, baby steps.
Baby steps.
You got a few games for football yet.
You're right. So in the first set, we led 25-19. In the second set, we led 25-15. And in the third set, we led 25-17. What were some stats from those games?
So Sierra Tanchin led the kills for North Dakota State, 12, and then Allie Hinsey had 10. Michelle Glover was third with 9 for that game.
And then on Thursday, they played Oral Roberts and lost 3-1. But it was still a dogfight. You know, it went up to 4 sets. In the first set, Oral Roberts only led 25-20. So it was pretty close. And then in the second set, We led 26-24, and in the third set they won 25-18. In the fourth set they took it with 25-19. What were some individual stats of that game?
Sierra Tanchen once again led it was basically the same as the UND series. Sierra Tanchen led the kills with 14. Actually, Allie Hinsey tied the most with Tanchen with 14 as well, and then Michelle Glover had 8. Now, yeah, you were right about the Oral Roberts series. It was a dogfight. In that third series that we lost as well, it was tied up at 13. So, you figured it was going to be very close to the end, but then it seemed like after that, Oral Roberts just kind of got away from them, unfortunately.
Yeah, so some outside stats. On the defensive side, of course, the whole season, the team has had 50 or more digs in just 12 matches, and they rank third in the Summit League with 1,167 digs, which is crazy. And then they also have a total of 907 kills, which ranks second in the Summit League.
Yeah, and also defensive specialist Kaylee Hanger. She becomes the 26th player in NDSU history to reach 1,000 career digs. She's now closing in on her 100th career match. She's only played 97 matches in her 4-year career, and she's already got 1,000 career digs. That is something right there.
Yep, and then so Allie Hinsey ranks 4th in the Summit League with total kills with 264, and Sarah Chanson ranks 5th with 262. NDSU is the only team to have 2 different players on the top 5 list of total kills in the Summit League. And back to what you were saying, with the games, how they had the same, right? Or they tied with each other. We can get those kills because we have the top 2. Like, we can get kills. It's just that we have to capitalize, I guess, Oral Roberts in those tough games.
Yeah, NDSU also leads the Summit League in total aces and ranks 16th in the nation with 136 this year. Ava Schmoll and Allie Hinsey have each contributed to a team-high 22 aces. It's crazy with all these stats. You would think the team would have a better record. It doesn't show on the record sheet, unfortunately, this year.
And like we were saying, like, when they were playing the teams that we thought they were going to lose to, like those hard tournaments against Cal and Butler, they ended up killing. So is it just the inconsistency, or?
I feel like it really is. I mean, you could see in those series like that, the talent is there, and it shows in the wins sometimes. But unfortunately, it seems like sometimes, the inconsistency comes back to bite them, and then they just lose series that you don't expect them to lose, unfortunately.
Yeah, so they're now 9-13. Could be better, 9-13. They play Kansas City tomorrow in Kansas, Missouri. Kansas City is 16-6, so you can see it's going to be a tough game. The Bison is leading the all-time series 17-4. So, we played them last month, though, and lost 3-1. So we know it's going to be a tough game. I at least want to get a tie. I'm never going to say the Bison are going to take the L, but I at least want them to get a tie, even though it's going to be that tough game.
I feel like it's going to be right down to the wire. It's going to go to 5 sets, no doubt. I have a feeling, though, that Kansas City will figure out a way to get away in that last set, and they will win 3-2.
And then moving on to cross country, the men's and women's team ran at the Bradley Pink Classic. Sophomore Jake Arson led the Bison with placing 58th overall.
And then for the women's team, senior Kelby Anderson was the one who led the women's cross-country team, taking 22nd place overall as the top finisher for the Bison.
Yeah, so for Arson, it was his first career finishing as a top Bison. He was competing in the 8-kilometer course, and he had his personal best also with 25 minutes and 7 seconds. And then Bison sophomore Peyton Smith came after him, finishing 97th with his personal best of 25 minutes and 24 seconds.
Yeah, and the women's team finished 11th overall as a team out of 37 Division I schools that were competing at the meet. Khalees Houston was the number 2 finisher for the Bison with a personal best of 21 minutes and 49 seconds for a 38th place finish. And freshman Grace Link took 78th place as NDSU's number 3 runner, finishing in 22 minutes and 20 seconds.
And then freshman Tyson Mahar came in 101st place, clocking 25 minutes and 25 seconds. And then Isaac Huber placed 115th place, clocking 25 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, the Bison, both teams will be racing next weekend at the Summit League Championships on Saturday, October 30th in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we wish them the best of luck there. I predict both teams will finish around mid-pack, kind of like what they did in this tournament. And, they've been doing pretty decently this whole year.
Yeah, I think the men's cross-country team was doing pretty decent the whole season, so hopefully they can project that on the Summit League Championship. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of Bison Overtime. You can catch us next Friday again at 11:30. Go Bison.